Welcome to your town, Monterey's Access Monterey Peninsula channel, letting you know all about your region. We're lucky today. We've got 3 great guests. Hopefully you'll join us, stay with us whenever we have these programs so you learn a little bit more about your community. I'm Mary Ann Leffel. I'm your host. I'm the president of the Monterey County Business Council. And today we've got 3 exciting, fairly new opportunities for people here in the community. The first one is a rookie, one of my favorite rookies, Mr. Robert Weakley, Altai Brands. Welcome.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk cannabis.
What is the cannabis?
You got way in on the kind of like the cutting edge of the state of California in the medical marijuana, not to do a CD dispensary, but to do it right, and I applaud you. You want to talk a little bit about your business?
Thank you. It was pretty interesting. It's been 2.5 years now. I think 2.5 years ago, when I told individuals like yourself and others, people looked at me like I had 3 heads, and it's been a wild ride. I think we see how public perception has changed over the last 2.5 years, and kind of the entire mood of not only California but the country. A lot of people don't actually realize, but California's had a legal cannabis industry for 20 years. With medicinal, and now with Prop 64 passing in November with the voters, it'll be adult use, or otherwise known as recreational, in January of 18. So it's a gear up for that.
This is kind of like the Wild West, the gold rush, and I guess it's the green rush. Yeah. Monterey County, because of its great weather and its plethora of greenhouses, many of them that hadn't been used in some time. We became kind of a center of this in California, didn't we?
Did, and I think it's a great resurgence for a lot of these greenhouses. If you go out in these areas where the cut flower business was huge, a decade or 2 ago, you're now seeing all of these being rejuvenated, and lots of capital going into retrofit and build these properties back up and continue to employ people. So it's really something exciting to watch, and I think Monterey County and the city have done a great job at really looking at the industry and how they can be the model for it. Not rushing into it and making rash decisions or anything like that, but really looking at it, speaking to individuals in the industry and making sure that it's something that's mutually beneficial for our community and for the business individuals.
Well, I'm pretty proud of you because I know that you started, 2.5 years ago and hired your first employee. Mm-hmm. And now how many do you have?
We've got about 67 employees today, and rapidly employing, and we'll be up over 100 come towards the end of the year.
That's pretty remarkable. And those are year-round jobs. They're not seasonal. All
year-round jobs, and nobody makes minimum wage.
And benefits?
Benefits for not everybody, but all salaried individuals and everything else, with the goal that we'll get to benefits for everybody shortly.
I love that.
Yep.
So does someone need some type of education? What are requirements that they need to work?
We have a lot of different positions open, anything from obviously management level, accounting, all the way down to cultivation and stuff. So certain positions require college degrees and educations. Others, we actually prefer people not to have any experience so that our team can train them. I come from the restaurant days where everybody's like, oh, I've got 30 years of experience or 15 years. I'm like, I want a server with no experience because you haven't learned bad habits yet. And so it's really bringing individuals in and giving them a chance. So, I live here on the peninsula and have for now 15 years. And so it's great to be able to build this and to employ people here from the peninsula and continue to grow business here.
Do you... I know one of the things that you've done that I think I've been impressed with, and that when we talk to others they're really impressed, is that you've really put good tracking on all of your products. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, so that if you've got an issue, you're more like you've modeled after the produce industry?
Sure. I mean, we look at it. We want to really help cannabis move into the legitimate industry, and to do that we have to go over and above regulations and compliance. And so I'm very lucky. I have an amazing business partner who actually produced for Whole Foods and Costco nationally back in the day. And so all of our products, everything we do is completely tracked. We can do a recall in 11 minutes if it was ever needed. He actually checks the system quarterly and does a mock recall. Seed to sale tracking, all of this stuff currently in California is not mandatory. It will be come January of 18, but for 2 years now, 2.5 years, we've actually been self-regulating ourselves, looking at Colorado, Washington, Oregon standards, and holding ourselves to those standards because we feel it's very important. I mean, we are producing a food product or a medicine and making sure that people get what they expect and the consistency and the quality, and that if something isn't right, that it gets called back.
So, I was there when Senator Monning took a tour, and I know he was dead set against everything in the beginning, but once he took a tour of your building and your way of doing business, and he saw how professional it was, I think it kind of turned his head, and I think that you've done a really great job of educating the public and some of the policymakers that this is not just a backroom kind of business. This is forefront. This is the way it should be done.
Yeah, no, I mean, when we built out our facility and getting into this industry, it was all about advocacy and showing, how an industry or how a business can operate. And, we have built a beautiful facility that's USDA compliant. And, we continue to give tours and education because we feel that's really the backbone of people understanding this industry and the medicinal effects of this industry and anything else, and that's education. And so it's a very important part of our business. We do a ton of tours from just whether it's local, national politicians. We get calls almost every week from other cities or counties throughout California wanting to come tour our facility so they can understand the regulations. And I think it goes a lot, again, to Monterey County and the city of Salinas on how they set up their program, that other cities are already looking at it to model their programs after the way that they've set it up. So, we take a lot of pride in the, level of service and facility and quality that we manufacture and what we do. So,
I know I was involved in the beginning with the city of Salinas with you, and they really did take their time. They studied it. They were very careful and very thorough, and I think that shows in what you've got as an end product, but also in the fact that you haven't had people complaining about you being in the neighborhood. Everything has just settled down. People who were afraid that you were going to be some nasty business next door to them, they're all very accepting now, and you're just another business in the city.
One of the greatest things I always hear is, "Oh, we never knew you were back there," or "We never knew you were here," which is great. That's the way a good neighbor should be. We have an operation, and we've again employees, but it's literally a manufacturing facility. We just have one extra ingredient, and that's really the way we look at it. We are we manufacture baked goods, chocolates, beverages, everything else. We just have one extra ingredient. So, that's really the only difference between our business and something that sits on Whole Foods shelf every day.
So, let's talk a minute about the tax. I think everybody put a 15% tax on it, which seems
$15 per square foot.
Oh, excuse me, of cultivation.
Of cultivation.
Okay, so it appears that may still drive some of the backroom business because people can have a $15 a square foot charge on top of everything else is pretty hefty. And do you see that changing? Do you think once everything gets kind of rolling that there'll be a change to that? Is it going to have to go back to the voters?
We hope so. It will have to go back to the voters, it looks like here, because it was the way it was set up. Depending on, I believe the county has the right to lower it or raise it in different areas. And I think it's something that we're going to have to see. If you look back at Prohibition, alcohol, the tax rate was very low at that time because you had to get it to what we want to do is get it out of the black market, and we want to legitimize the industry and make sure that, if you overtax something, then people will find other ways of getting it at a lower price. And so I think it's very important that we look at evaluate it at the end of each year and see where it's going. The other thing is going to be is neighboring counties or cities that impose a lower tax could make companies from our city and our county move, because if somebody goes to a $7.50 tax, that's a massive difference when it comes down to everything. So
it goes straight to the bottom line.
Yeah, and so it's going to be really one of those important things for the county officials and city and everything else to watch and see what the neighbors are doing to make sure that we can maintain the industry and that it makes sense and we don't lose business to neighboring counties because of the tax benefits and everything else. So we'll have to see. Again, it's certainly it's very high right now. But we're going to work with it and again, see what we can do.
And obviously another huge problem is because the federal government has not approved it, and it's approved now in, 19 states?
23.
23, okay. So it's mounting, it's a groundswell coming from the states, but the federal government is still not recognizing that it's a legitimate industry. So banking is kind of the
B word.
It is. It's a nasty word.
Yes. As we joke all the time, going to different events, and everybody's like, "Oh, I want to thank my banker." I'm like, "I would love to thank my banker. I just don't have one." No, it's definitely one of those challenges that we constantly deal with is banking and trying to find those relationships. And banks that are willing to look at the industry and make sure that if it's a legitimate company that pays its taxes and has the permits and the licenses and everything else and can track where their revenue comes from, that they can be treated like any other company. And so it's definitely the challenge. But I think we'll work through it. It's still probably going to be another year, the analysts seem to think. But it's one of those challenges you have to deal with the industry.
Well, it's an additional cost to government if what you have to do is pay your taxes in cash. Mm-hmm. They've got to hire somebody to count it and store it and ship it, which they've not had to do in years with anything. Very few people pay any of that in cash.
Sure.
Payroll, if you pay all your employees in cash, it's an issue.
Yeah. We're lucky enough because we're not a dispensary. Dispensaries have a much harder time because of the cash and everything they deal with. We're lucky enough to have some banking, so none of our employees are paid. They've got direct deposit, everything. They get their reimbursements by check and everything else. So we don't carry a lot of cash, luckily, in our business being manufacturing and a wholesaler. But it's very tough for dispensaries and some of the stuff with them setting up. And the tax thing, it's really funny because, we want to work with the cities and the counties and everything else and pay our taxes. And then if you pay in cash, there's a 10% penalty for paying your taxes. Like, wait a second here. I'm here with all my stuff to pay my taxes. And then we're going to get a penalty for 10% because they've got to hire more additional labor to count the cash. So it's an interesting dilemma. It's like, we're here, we want to pay, and then it's, oh wait, hold on, you get another sub bill for paying in cash. So it's an interesting thing. But again, it's a new industry, and we kind of take the approach that, listen, we need to just work alongside with city officials or county officials on working through this stuff, because it's going to be it's trial and error. What works, what doesn't work. Throw it up against the wall. Does it stick? Nope. Bounce back. Hit me in the face. What does this look like? And that's really going to be a big part of it. Is trial and error.
Well, I think the industry is fortunate, Rob, that you got into it, because I think that you're very systematic with it, logical. You don't get overexcited. You just kind of take a deep breath and go back out.
The only way you can. It's not very often that you have an opportunity to create a brand or multiple brand, but also help shape an industry. And so it's always one of those things people ask, it's like, oh, what are you going to tell your grandkids or your kid? I'm like, hopefully they're proud. We actually help shape an industry and into legitimacy. And, there's going to be bumps in the road, but hopefully, there's small bumps, and we continue to push forward and really make it an industry that's going to be respected and be community leaders and community contributors for years to come.
How many dispensaries are you in?
We supply about 700 right now throughout California.
And how many are there total?
Oh, that number changes every day. The estimates are about 4,000.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
You're throughout the state?
We're throughout the state, yep, from the Oregon border down to Mexico. It's, again, it's as the state continues to set up the regulations and counties and cities start to give licenses and regulations, it really starts to change the footprint of the industry. The way the state has passed the laws, you must be licensed locally before you can even apply for a state license. So no city or county has to be concerned about somebody, a business person getting a license, state license, and then going into their community and setting up, a licensed facility. You can't apply for a state license until you have your local. So it's, great for us, everything else, and also for counties and cities to be able to regulate how many they want in their town or their area and what that level looks like. And so it makes sense for each city and county. And then, and all that permit process starts in January of 18 when it comes into the state licenses. Right now, everybody's locally licensed.
So I see nothing but a good future, especially the way you're doing it. I think that's really important. So I think we all wish you a lot of luck. And I know that when you started and I was with you, we would run into so many people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who would say, oh, thank God I send my housekeeper to Santa Cruz every Tuesday to get my brownies. It made me kind of laugh. So now there's a local product. It's available in the dispensary in Delray Oaks.
Yeah, we've got a great local dispensary in Delray Oaks, fully licensed and supported by their city. And they carry, all of our products and our brands, and they're just, they're another, model for this industry. I mean, you go there and it's a beautiful, dispensary and store, and their staff is well trained and they're there to help. So again, if you need, you can walk in, and if you need something for sleep, they can help you and direct you to what that would be. If you need something for cancer, pain relief, whatever that is, they've got staff on hand to help direct you to the product that makes sense, because we know, this may be new to some people or kind of a comeback maybe for that they haven't tried in 20 years or something like that.
And now they need it.
And now they need it, and it's one of those things that they need some education about it.
That's great. So, Mr. Rob Weakley, and you'll hear a lot more as this industry grows and evolves. January of 18 is just around the corner. Monterey County is ready for that. So stay with us. This is Your Town. I'm Mary Ann Leffel. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back. Your Town, Monterey. Learn all about it. There's always something new happening. Today we've got some great guests, and our second guest is one of my absolute favorites, and obviously my favorite school, Chartwell School, Mr. Billy Swift.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you are the head of the Chartwell High School.
I am.
And you were a teacher and got this promotion this last year.
Correct.
We're happy that you did. So this is a big class this year.
We do. Our graduating class this year will be the largest graduating class that we've had in the history of our school. And for many people, it would seem really tiny, like minuscule. But for us, it is fairly big. So we're graduating 11 students this year. We have 30 students currently enrolled. And yeah, so we're a very small school to begin with. We're a very small independent private school, as you know.
So let's talk about Chartwell. Chartwell is a school for children with learning differences, primarily dyslexia. And a lot of them have a couple other types of diagnosis or whatever. But I have been amazed, I make no bones about it, that my granddaughter is a Chartwell student, and we have been amazed at what you and your colleagues are able to manage and to put kids on a good path, kids that maybe haven't felt very good about themselves before they get to Chartwell.
Yeah, so our students, they don't do well in traditional learning environments. Like you said, most of our students do have dyslexia or a specific learning disability, which dyslexia falls underneath. So it's learning and attention differences. We have a lot of students that have ADHD as well, and they do. They come to us when they're at a place where they're frustrated with school, where they're frustrated with how they're being taught, that they know they have a lot of intelligence and creative ideas, and they're having trouble acquiring information, and then they're having difficulty expressing it. And that could be a multitude of ways. Sometimes acquiring information through reading, sometimes it's through their auditory processing, sometimes it's the regular classroom environment, or just the environment of the school in general. And then the same with expressing what they know. Some of them have some difficulty sometimes feeling just confident to be able to put their ideas out there. And that's really the core when students first come in. We really look at trying to increase their confidence and their self-esteem, because most of them come thinking that they can't do anything, that they know that it's there, but every time they go to do the work, it's really hard. And so when people say, hey, you're really smart, and they go to do something, and they find it hard, they don't believe that they actually are smart. And at our school, they can actually do the work, and they can prove to themselves and their peers and their families, usually for the first time, that they do have intelligence, and they are creative, and they're able to express themselves in ways that, in all honesty, for me, why I love working at this school, is astonished every single day by these students and our faculty that provides them with this amazing program and the environment that we have. They can run into school happy and saying hi to all the teachers, and yeah, it's a very fun, familial environment to be working in.
I was talking to a mother the other day whose son started at Chartwell this year, and she said he could not wait to get back from the spring break. He was just, is this the day? Yeah. I'm ready. And she said that is the first time in his 9-10 years of schooling that he has been eager to return to a school. And we hear that over and over, where before it used to be the Sunday night headaches and the stomach ache and the Monday flu. Mm-hmm. And now they're eager to get there. And you see that when you park there.
Mm-hmm. And when the students come in too, which is kind of nice, because the model of education that we have, I like to think of it as a river. So we provide the banks in which we want them to stay in, but we give them a lot of freedom and latitude to go explore and do things. And so sometimes the students just start these side projects, or they get curious about something, and then it starts taking off, and it develops into something more than we ever thought it would be. Currently, I have 3 students that found an FM transistor radio that we had in a closet, and they were playing around with it, and they were figuring out how to broadcast, and now they're looking at starting a radio station at Chartwell. And it's fun to see them in their free time or communicating, outside of the school hours about how to make this thing work, because they're passionate about something. So it's cool to see that flame get lit, and then actually provide them with an environment which the air can get underneath of it, and provide it a little bit more life. It's great to see them so enthralled, not just with what we're doing at our school, but giving them freedom and ability to explore and inquire about anything that they're interested and passionate about.
So the environment, the building is a LEED Platinum campus, and it was the first LEED Platinum school actually in the United States.
Correct.
So the environment itself is just amazing, with flocks of turkeys and herds of deer, and every once in a while a coyote stalking one of them across the campus.
Right, well, we have that 65 acres, and then our buildings are built with the student learning in mind. And our classes are really small, because we have small, when I say small, I mean they're typical classroom sizes, but our classroom sizes are really small. So we're able to use a lot of the classroom space in many different ways for different types of learners. So we're not a traditional sit and talk type school. People sometimes aren't sitting at their desks and learning. Sometimes they're up at stations doing something. Maybe they're in a group somewhere. Sometimes they're outside doing some independent work. All of our students have very diverse learning needs, and we're able to cater directly to anything that they need. And differentiate and modify the work to fit what's called the zone of proximal development for them. So they're really moving in a trajectory that works really well for them, and a lot of it is built on the space, because the Chartwell, the actual campus itself, being beautiful, is lovely. But the classrooms are set up and designed for success as well, and they're comfortable. They're not stuffy. Big glass windows, as you know. sometimes 20-something feet high, so we had a lot of natural light and nice flat desks. We have a lot of rolling boards, and we have smart boards and projectors and Apple TVs, and a lot accessible for the students and for the teachers.
So, how does someone find Chartwell? Do they website? Is it word of mouth? How do you find your students?
Yeah, number one is word of mouth. So, you know, as having your granddaughter at our school, more times than ever, the students will talk about their school, they'll brag about their school, and the parents, they do come to us and say, you maybe saved our family. A lot of times, these families are kind of at their wits' ends, not sure how to navigate the school system, what to do for their child, looking for some opportunity where their child can grow. And when they find Chartwell, a lot of that angst and anxiety is taken off of not just the student, but also off of the entire family. And so for them, when they say, you might have saved our family, they really mean it. And when you're doing something that powerful, and it's really the students are doing, I mean, we're providing an environment and giving them the opportunity. They're the ones that are doing something so powerful. But when the parents see it, they start talking. The more parents I've been talking to, I ask them just, how did you inquire about our school? And most of the time they say, I talked to a parent, I know this parent, I've been hearing about your school, just kind of buzzing around, people mentioning it for students with a learning difference. So really a lot of it is word of mouth, and word of mouth is more powerful than any print advertisement, any video that you see, because you're getting a real story that's connected to human beings. And that's the world, well, any company that you're in, but in the world of education, our clients are people and their minds and their souls,
So for me, a lot of education, particularly high school students, is about exposure. They are exposed to different career paths that they might not ever have thought about. And I think when I see it, like a lot of people that are bankers, their kids become bankers. If you're an ag, your kid becomes ag. But I think Chartwell, because of the project-based learning, really opens up the complete world for these kids.
Right. So, yeah, our students have a lot of cognitive diversity and neurodiversity. So they have different, people say, strengths and challenges. We used to say a lot of times strengths and stretches. So the things that they could be good at, but they just have to work a little bit harder, and they have to learn those skills and strategies. And as a school that specializes with working with students with an LD, we teach skills and strategies all day long. So we can reduce some of the processing and some of the working memory they may have to do. But I've been moving towards actually calling it strengths and hesitancies, because I really do think that sometimes our students, they have these talents out there that are just untapped, that they haven't had those opportunities to do it. So our project-based model that we use at school allows them to go, like I said, we provide at the banks of the river, but to go explore these certain themes. And so sometimes they're fairly narrow, sometimes they're very large, but it allows them to go and explore this theme and come up with an understanding of it on their own and be able to express it in their own way. And if you don't know anything about project-based learning, when it comes down to it, the first thing you deal with is an issue or some sort of problem that we're facing. And we use a driving question. So we take this issue and we pose this question to the students, and we tell them in every single one of their classes, cross-curriculum, every class is going to be, when the lesson plan is made, is going to help them explore this theme and try to answer this question. And so throughout our project periods, we do 4 a year, so it's basically like 4 quarters, but we do 4 project periods. Each one, they get their theme, they get their driving question, and in all their classes, they learn about this theme, and they explore it from as many angles as we possibly can get them to explore it. But at the end, what they're doing is they're taking that knowledge and they're synthesizing the information that they have learned, and then their own feelings, their own thoughts, and they're pulling all of this forward, and they're presenting something out that hopefully will make a difference. So it's either answering that question, maybe not solving the issue, but it's maybe bringing awareness to it. So in the past, we've done an art gallery when we did a project period on mass incarceration, which is really big. Most recently, we did service learning, and all of our students were out in the community at various corporations, learning about what it means to be part of a community and what people are doing out there in the world to help other people, especially locally. And at the end of that project period, we had a big fundraiser, and the students presented about each organization and what they're doing and the work that our students did, and kind of made a call saying, you can help too. Money is very important, but also we want to expose you to what's going on in our community. So they were able to explain what was happening within our community that they would have never been able to do before, and all these underlying issues that sometimes are multi-layered that they could then express, and then they were able to share it out to a fairly large group. I think we had about 200 people at that fundraiser, and we raised almost $1,500, $1,700 to donate back to these nonprofit organizations, which really goes a long way, and that's something that they did on their own, and they planned the entire event. It's exciting to see that unfold. And so that really provides them with some opportunities there. And when they do that, some people are like, wow, maybe I want to go into art therapy. Maybe I really do want to go into the tech world. Or it's just, like you said, it's exposing them to areas that they may have never known existed before, or an area that they were really hesitant to look at. And so we allow them that space to do so.
Well, I had Christian on from Loaves, Fishes, and Computers a show or two ago, and he was just thrilled because he said he never expected, first of all, he had a great group of young people to work with, but secondly, he said then at the end, they came back with a small check, and he said that was like a wow, whoever would think that that happened. So,
and this is why the students love running to school, right? Because you don't get this experience all the time. It's pretty fun because our schedule right now, we don't have classes on Friday. Our classes are specifically built to do field experience work or project-based work based on whatever theme we're doing. So the students are coming in, and we might have guest speakers, we might be going on field trips, there's a host of things that we're doing. And so, they're coming in, and they don't need their supplies. They don't need their chemistry book on Friday. They're coming in, and they're specifically doing something, working towards this issue or this problem that we've asked them to investigate.
So this period you're on food.
We're doing food, and our focus is on culture.
And I was like, wow, you're going to some really cool places. And you actually had a local lady who came in and cooked Indian food on campus. It smelled so good.
Ritika, she did a 3-hour cooking class for us. So the students are studying right now food, and their driving question is, how does the exploration of food inform us about various cultures? And so we're looking at all sorts of stuff. So one of those Fridays, we had a 3-hour cooking class. We made a trip to Folktail Winery. We went to Earthbound Farm. We went to Happy Girl Kitchen as well, and we're going to be going over to Revival Ice Cream this Friday. And for the end project period for this, the students are going to create a big feast for themselves to enjoy. They're each going to pick a culture or an ingredient or a technique used in cooking that they're fascinated about. They're going to explore it, and then they're going to prepare a pretty sizable portion to share with the rest of their peers, and we're going to have a big feast and just enjoy. And then we're going to do a food fair, and we're going to invite people in from the community to come and let the students teach the guests about these different cultures and food and techniques and ingredients. And then we're also compiling all the information that they're doing into a fairly large cookbook for the high school that we're going to end up distributing digitally.
It's pretty exciting.
It is.
It's
I know.
Pretty ambitious.
I may fast a little bit before the final project so I can have enough room for it all.
Well, I know, I think Katie's selected her recipe, so now she just needs to try it a couple times. So.
Yeah, well, she's got to dive into the culture and the techniques and look at some essential ingredients as well as part of the project.
So, okay, well, we're on it.
Good.
So one of the things, Chartwell made a shift a few years ago because, and these are my words and they may not be the appropriate words, but I think Chartwell was more, give us your child for a couple years, we'll remediate, and then we'll prepare them to re-enter back into the public school system. Mm-hmm. But the shift has been now where it's actually a college prep school, and children are getting ready. Do you want to talk about the success with these kids?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, part of that shift, I do really believe, is after the high school was, the inception of the high school, around 2008 or so, the K to 8 parents really didn't see any other options. And now that the high school has been in existence for a good amount of time, originally known as the New High School Project, and now we've officially changed names to Chartwell High School, they're seeing the success that our students are having. Not only in college, but moving through high school. And they're seeing that as a viable option for their child to go to college. So we have 11 seniors right now. All 11 seniors have been accepted into a 4-year college of their choice, at least one. Many of them have gone into kind of all their colleges. But we also have a senior advisory program, which is really kind of the heart and soul when we look at transition. And so every year, for the senior year, students take a class every single day with this amazing instructor, Miss LaValle, and she works the students through the entire college planning process. They actually start at their junior year, and they start just kind of saying, okay, what are my essentials? What are the things I want in a college? Is it region, area, size of school? Is it the program? And what do I definitely not want? And then there's the maybe pile. And so they do that, and they start planning and coming up with some ideas and doing some college tours with the family and having the conversation. But in their senior year, they're meeting every single day working through this. They're doing the research, they're working on their essays, they're filling out their applications, they're prepping for the ACTs that our students will typically take here on campus. They get their recommendations, they work through all the financial planning. We give them mock schedules for a pretend class or a syllabus, and they have to pretend that they're planning out their week, so when they're going to eat, when they're going to go to class, when they're going to work out, when they're going to study. And so just teaching them a lot of these executive functioning skills for how to manage their time, their materials, and their information going off to college. So like I said, our school is about skills and strategies, and we really pace it well, and we break it into manageable chunks for the students so it's not overwhelming. And so even just heading off to college, we take that experience and we break it down and make it very systematic and very explicit to the students and the families. The families love it because they don't have to deal with a lot of the stress. They know that the child's taking control of that. And it's a big area of ownership for them as well, because now they're showing some independence. They're starting to do something for the first time that they really believe in for their own future, without necessarily being guided by their parents, which sometimes that process can be very difficult to navigate with a teenager as a parent.
Well, Mr. Billy Swift, my hat is off to you and to your staff. I cannot imagine what you do every day. I could not do it. I actually would not do it. But I think that there's such an amazing transformation with these children when they go into Chartwell and when they come out of Chartwell. So congratulations. If you are interested in Chartwell School, chartwellschool.org is an amazing website. Take a look at it. The phone number is on there. I don't remember what it is, but I will tell you right now that if your child is struggling, this is the place for them. So don't go away. We'll be back in a minute. Your Town. Welcome back, Your Town. Monterey, what an exciting place. Always something new, always something different. Our show's diverse today. We had 3 great guests. Our last guest is going to give you an opportunity to learn about opportunities because she works for the Opportunity Fund. Griselda Solis, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Thank you for having Opportunity Fund on your show. We really appreciate it.
So, as most people know, I was a lender for 45 years.
Yes.
And it seems to me that if I look at my successes, part of my successes were to have a place where I could send people who were nearly bankable. And they just weren't quite there to fit a banking standard or parameter. But there's a place for an opportunity fund. And I think that the fact that it's in Monterey County, we're really, really fortunate to have you here. So you want to just talk a little bit about the fund and
Sure,
what you
I
do?
would love to. Opportunity Fund has been around for over 22 years. We started in San Jose, California, founded by Mr. Eric Weaver. 22 years ago, started in San Jose. We have recently expanded. My coverage area is Monterey County, Santa Cruz County, and San Benito counties. I love what I do. I love what I do because just like you said, we are trying to fill that gap between someone that does not qualify at a bank, and we're trying to keep them from getting those merchant loans or hard money loans that aren't too good for their business. We're hoping to fill that gap with easy to qualify, fast, affordable loans that will help them keep their doors open or take their business to the next level.
So someone must be in business for 1 year?
Yes.
Okay, so they have got to be in business for a year and be able to have tax returns to show that.
Yes.
And then they're eligible to have a conversation with you to see if they qualify. And typically, what's the size of the loan?
Typically, our loan size is about $10,000. We have a couple of different loan products available. We have a new express loan, which we've had for about a year, which is very limited documentation. We do require that you be in business for 1 year. Limited documentation, we need a business license and an ID. That is it to get you $10,000.
And there's such a need for that because I'm not sure, and we're not going to talk about interest rates, but I know your interest rates are much less than they would be if someone went out on a 22 or 23% credit card.
Correct.
Which is oftentimes what a lot of small businesses do to finance, and then they just get in trouble because they're paying so much in interest every month. And if you were to look at it, is there any industry that you seem to be more drawn to or you get more applicants from, or is it pretty much across the board?
A lot of our borrowers, over 80% of our borrowers are low to moderate income. Over 80%, close to 90% of our borrowers are minorities. Over 50% of them are women. We're helping with that small community of people that consider themselves not bankable. And it's exciting when I get to a borrower and they feel there was no hope for them. And here is Opportunity Fund, who's willing to take a risk or help them keep their doors open or take their business to the next level. A lot of the businesses, we also fund home-based businesses that a bank would probably not qualify.
So if someone's baking cookies out of their house and selling to a bakery or at a farmer's market,
Yes.
that type of business, that, or someone's a mechanic who maybe doesn't have a storefront, but they can prove that they've been doing the business.
Yes, we can help them with a small loan as little as $2,600.
Okay.
We can help them with a small loan as our loans now are in our small business department are going up to $250,000.
Okay, so $2,600 to $250,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And is there a lot more documentation on a $250,000?
Yes, of course.
I would think so.
Yes, a $250,000 loan. Of course, we will require more documentation, tax returns. Those smaller loans, which is my department, are very limited documentation. Like I was saying, the express loan, driver's license. I'm sorry, of course we need a loan application. Our loan application is 2 pages. I mean, we really want to stress that it's fast, easy process. On our express loans, we can sometimes get you a loan in as little as a day. On average, it's about 3 days for an express loan.
And you go out to the business.
Yes.
Which is, I think, really important because a lot of small business, part of it is they're intimidated to go to the banks,
Yes.
to be declined.
Yes.
And also, it's just time. It's time away from the business. So it gives you an opportunity to see the business, to meet the person in their environment, but also then to learn about it.
Yes, we consider ourselves a character-based. Our loans are character-based, so we want to know about your business. We want to know about your struggles, and I want to know about your successes because I have businesses that I know during the season when a lot of our, here in Monterey County, when a lot of our workers travel to Arizona, migrate for business, a lot of these small businesses are struggling. They that is those months that they're gone is their slow time, so they're just trying to keep afloat. And then when these seasonal farm workers come back, I mean, their business booms. I have some borrowers who, just need to borrow $5,000 to get through that slow time, and they're eager to pay us back. When business booms, they want to get rid of their debt. We have no prepayment penalty, so they are able to pay us off. And we create a relationship to where they'll call me in a year and say, Griselda, I'm in need of your help. I paid off my other loan. Since there's no prepayment penalty, they'll turn around and pay it off in 6 months.
So they use it as a bridge loan.
Yes.
And which is good. It is good.
But I also have another customer of mine who was started at farmer's market selling carnival food, you know, funnel cakes, hot dogs, fast, fun food is they started selling at a farmer's market. We were able to get them a loan to open at Northridge Mall. They came to me and they had gotten a no from bank, but they were ready to take their business to the next level. They had a huge following on social media. Every farmer's market they were at, they were just having booming sales. And they felt they were ready, but they did not have the funds to take their business to the next level. So we stepped in a matter of weeks when they were able to get their permit at the mall, helped them with a loan, $25,000 to have them open. We're now in talks to help them. Just recently, last week I spoke to them. We're working on a loan for a food truck for them.
That's great.
So, we're not only helping you keep your doors open, we're helping you take your business to the next level.
Well, it's about if you've got something and you can give somebody that boost to expand, which is also important, because sometimes it's not just keeping the doors open, but it's helping them get that path. And that's all about employing people, which is what economic development's all about. It's providing jobs.
Yes, them keeping their doors open is going to be better for their family. It's going to be better for the families of their employees, and it's just altogether better for our economy.
That's really good. So is the bulk of your business in the Salinas Valley?
The bulk of my business is, I cover Santa Cruz and Monterey and San Benito counties. A lot of my business would be Santa Cruz and Monterey counties.
Okay. So throughout, just no
throughout the Tri-County.
No particular segment.
I would like to say Watsonville and Salinas is very busy for us. We, like I said, a large majority of our borrowers are low to moderate income, and we go out and find them. We find them. There are great bankers such as yourself who really genuinely care about those borrowers and don't want their dreams to end in their parking lot, right? So they will give you resources to to someone else that maybe would be able to help you with an affordable loan. When bankers use us as a resource, it's good for them because they're able to keep their borrowers in-house. A business owner is more than likely to go directly to their bank to try and get that small loan if they use Opportunity Fund as a resource and we're able to help them. Ideally, we want to make them bankable. We want to get these borrowers to, once they have been in business for so many years, we want to get them back to the bank because you're probably going to have a bank will have a lower interest than what we're providing. We're just trying to fill that gap so they don't have to turn to credit cards. Credit cards eventually will max out, and we want to make you look more favorable in the eyes of a bank.
And you do report to the credit bureau, so they can start as a business establishing a record of having a successful borrowing relationship, which is also very good for a bank to see.
Yes, yeah. Our loans are term loans. So an example would be if you need $5,000 and you have zero interest on your credit card, that's probably a good option for you if you can pay it off, before the interest will damage you. And that's one option. But we will report to the credit bureau. You want to look favorable. We want to make you bankable.
Sure.
So because that's ultimately going to be better for your business. That track record is going to be better for your business moving forward.
So if I want to find you, okay, and I interviewed people all day long that were either depositing or borrowing money, or that's what I did for a living for a long time. And I would oftentimes, rather than say no to someone, if I thought they had the opportunity to succeed, but they couldn't quite fit where I was, I would either refer them to a bank that I thought might have a portfolio that could help them, or I would refer them to a fund like yours. And, it's kind of a source of pride for me to be able to walk around the community and see people that I know I was able to get started or to stay in business because I was able to steer them off where they could find help. And then as you said, they kept their deposits with me. They kept their MasterCard. They kept everything else. So it benefited the bank also. We grew as a community, and we created jobs. If people want to find you, how do they find you?
Well, they can log on to our website, opportunityfundloan.org, O-R-G. They could also call. We have a toll-free number. It's 866-299-8173.
Okay. And we'll put that on again before the end of the program. But I think it's important that people understand that you're just really a phone call or a website away.
Yes, and we do know that there's mom and pop shops that if they close their business to go find me, that's going to cost them money. But we'll happily come out to you. I will come out to you, bring my computer, help you with the loan application process. If you're not, there's also borrowers who are very computer literate and can do everything via email, but we still like to meet our customers. We're there if you need us to hold your hand and walk you through the process. We'd be very happy to do that.
So if you have a loan that is, let's say, documented, where you need more information, what type of information do you require? Do you require 2 years tax returns, 1 year?
Loans under $10,000, we do not require tax returns.
Right.
Loans over $10,000, yes, 1 year tax return.
Okay, so 1 year. And then proof of doing business and personal identification.
In 3 months, a loan over $10,000 would be 1 year's tax, your last year's tax returns, 3 months bank statements, ID, proof of business license. Some loans we can do without collateral.
Okay, so I think that's a good kind of a wrap my head around what it is that you need. And if I were to get in touch with you today, what's the timing? If I have my tax return and I have everything that you're going to require, how long does it take you to get out to me to help me fill out the application?
Oh, fairly quick. Fairly quick, probably
within a week.
Within 24 hours, we'll be in contact. Now, from the time I get all of your loan documents to the time we can get you a check is usually about 5 days. With our express loan, it's our express where it's fast, easy, affordable. That it can be in as little between 1 to 3 days from when I have all the documentation required.
Okay, good. Is this a busy season? Are there ebbs and flows?
Yes, there are. Right now yes, we're in a busy season. It's picking up. We are, with the new administration, there's a little fear in some of our borrowers that we reach out to because we're out there, pounding the pavement, finding our borrowers, and there's a little fear or a little,
trepidation.
Their guard is up. Their guard is up a little bit more, but we're still working. We're able to help them. We also do not require you have a Social Security number. We can help you with the loan if you have an ITIN number.
Okay.
So that is something
that's
great.
all of that's important. All of it. So how many employees do most of these people have? Are they sole proprietors where it's just themselves, or would you say that most of them have 2 to 5?
It varies. We have some businesses that are just sole proprietors. We have landscaping businesses that have 10 employees. Somewhere a business like Stoney's now has over 15 employees. They started just them, Elvia Salgado, her fiance Sergio, and they employed their family members, helped them with the business. Now they're over 15 employees. So we're, home-based business to a big restaurant that has 15, 20 employees.
That's great. That is great. So, well, you have to have a source of pride, Griselda.
I do.
That you can walk around and see that you've helped these people.
Yes.
They're still in business. They've expanded.
I love to see when they're expanded. I love to see when they're in business. Like I said, we create a relationship. I want them to know if they need, anything, they can pick up a phone and call me. We want to help their business succeed.
Do you want to give us the phone number again?
Yes, it is 1-866-299-8173.
And it's opportunityfundloan.org.
Correct. Opportunityfundloan.org.
Okay. So, Griselda Solis, thank you so
You're welcome.
much. I just love this program, and I having used another program and having referred some people to you, and
Yes.
you've been able to help them. I'm eternally grateful that you're here in our community and that you're doing such a good job. So thank you.
We're grateful to have you spreading the word about us as well.
Thank you. So, this is your town. Hopefully you've learned a lot about this. We've gone from medical marijuana to school for children with learning differences to money, opportunity fund. And you know what? All of it creates opportunity in our community. So we'll see you next month. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mary Ann Leffel. See you next month.